period of Japanese history beginning in 710 CE and continuing until 794 CE is known as the Nara period, thus named because the imperial capital during this time was located in the Nara region of central Japan. The Nara period is primarily characterized by two main points: Japan's full-on adoption of a Chinese-inspired government model called the Ritsuryō system, and a political scene which saw the newly christened Fujiwara clan of aristocrats alternatingly slide in and out of power as they struggled to establish control over Japan's government and the imperial throne. Since the latter half of the Asuka period, Japan's leaders had been making clear their intentions to adopt the Ritsuryō government system via a series of reforms called the Taika Reforms, and these culminated with the enactment of the Taihō Ritsuryō Law Code in 701 on the eve of the Nara period's outset. This Ritsuryō government was a highly centralized one which placed the emperor at the center of everything, with the powerful clan leaders who had once made up the Yamato Kingdom's coalition government being reorganized as bureaucrats of the imperial court, receiving court ranks from the emperor and being officially designated as aristocrats. The central government's new structure consisted of 2 councils and 8 ministries, and its key posts were all staffed by the newly created aristocracy. The country itself was divided into provinces, kuni, and districts, gun, with the former being administered by governors called kokushi dispatched from the capital, and the latter being administered by district managers called gunji, who were drawn from the wealthy lair of the local populace. The Nara period began in earnest with the construction of the new capital of Heijōkyō, which was based on the Tang capital of Chang'an with its strict grid design and, unlike most of its predecessors, was actually intended to be a permanent capital city. The new capital was connected to the rest of the country by a network of roads leading to the various provincial headquarters, with way stations placed along them in regular intervals. Out in the farthest reaches of the country, the imperial government sent its armies to subdue the local populace, namely the Emishi people of northern Japan and the Hayato people of Kyushu, and a number of military facilities, such as Akita Castle and Taga Castle, were constructed in the former region to keep order. Throughout the Nara period, the government also sent numerous embassies to Tang China called kentoshi, whose studies and experiences on the mainland would have a great effect on Japan's own government and culture. In some cases, Tang Chinese themselves traveled to Japan to share their knowledge, such as the monk Ganjin, who helped establish the structure and rules of the Buddhist religion in Japan. As a result of this interaction, Nara period Japanese culture took on a distinctly global hue, influenced not only by China but also the various other countries along the Silk Road. Some of the greatest domestic cultural achievements of the period are the authorship of Japan's oldest surviving histories, the Kojiki and the Nihon Shoki, and the poetry compilation called the Manyoshu, which utilized a writing system which is the ancestor to modern Japanese hiragana and katakana. The common folk didn't see their lifestyle change much during the Nara period, continuing to live in the same pit dwellings they had since the Kofun period, although the advent of iron farming tools around this time was increasing their farming efficiency. As per Ritsuryō law, rice paddies were allocated to all of the emperor's subjects to cultivate until their deaths, at which point the land would be returned to the state and redistributed. The people paid heavy taxes to the government in the form of rice, cloth, specialty goods, manual labor, and conscripted military service, wherein they served as guardsmen either in the capital or on the northern coast of Kyushu. These taxes were so heavy that many peasant farmers absconded from their paddies, with many instead choosing to enter the personal service of aristocrats or powerful temples and shrines. When rice paddies were abandoned, they quickly were reclaimed by nature, and this, combined with the growing peasant population, meant that within several years the government found itself with a shortage of land to redistribute for cultivation. At the start of the Nara period, government was spearheaded by one Fujiwara no Fushito, whose father, Nakatomi no Kamatari, had risen to power and received the Fujiwara name after helping to overthrow the Soga clan half a century prior. After Fushito's death, however, de facto control of the government passed to a royal family member named Prince Nagaya, who is mostly remembered for his efforts to increase the country's insufficient farmland so as to continue distributing it to peasants as per the new system prescribed by the Taika Reforms. In order to achieve this goal, Prince Nagaya passed a law permitting multi-generation ownership of land, a policy which convinced cultivators to work harder to create new rice paddies, but was also in direct conflict with the Taika Reforms' Chinese-style philosophy of the government owning everything. Nagaya's greatest antagonists were the 4 sons of Fujiwara no Fushito, collectively known as the 4 Fujiwara brothers, who were feuding with him over the issue of marrying their sister into the imperial family. They eventually organized a violent coup against the prince and forced him to take his own life, but all 4 of them went on to die just a few years later when a massive smallpox epidemic ravaged the country. From this point, power passed back into the hands of various non-Fujiwara actors, leading one of the surviving sons of the 4 Fujiwara brothers to stage an unsuccessful rebellion down in Kyushu. The rebellion was safely put down, but it, together with the earlier smallpox epidemic, terrified the sitting monarch, Emperor Shomu, into thinking that his country was on a path to certain doom. In search of salvation, he turned to the power of Buddhism, building temples called Kokubunji all around Japan, and culminating his project with the creation of a giant Buddha statue known today as the Nara Daibutsu. This project, however, required a massive amount of money, and in order to secure the funds, Shomu issued a law which took the late Prince Nagaya's policies one step further and permitted indefinite private land ownership to enterprising cultivators. Savvy aristocrats and religious establishments took advantage of this law to mobilize large numbers of peasants to open up new tracts of farmland, creating vast private estates called shoen. The latter half of the Nara period continued to be full of political drama as the strong-headed Empress Koken took the throne for 2 separate terms, feuding with yet another Fujiwara politician and, according to legend, nearly allowing her close confidant and possible lover, the mysterious monk Dokyo, to succeed her as emperor, although this alleged plan did not pan out. Following Koken's tumultuous reign, a new emperor ascended to the throne from a different branch of the imperial family, and his son and successor would eventually decide to abandon the capital of Heijōkyō in favor of a new location, officially putting an end to the Nara period. If you want to know more about the Nara period, please check out the 6th and 7th videos in my Japanese History the Textbook series, where I go into much of this information in greater depth. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.